did they know the information about how fast the light is traveling from the dead stars and shit back then, when now it's supposed to be the technology boom? You know what I'm saying? So like, how do we know that? Who came up with that philosophy, and what steps did they do to come to that conclusion? Like that bothers me. It bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot to that. Sometimes I choose to go sit in the matrix.
If what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about black people is true, it makes sense. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the universe was built on 60,000 books of mathematics, but because we put white people in power, they have one. Right? He said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about in the 30s about all these how we buried cities. He said we buried cities underneath the rainforest, the desert, the oceans. Like we buried cities, in particular our libraries, so that they couldn't get access to them. Now with LiDAR, they're flying over the Amazon like, damn, there's 5 cities buried underneath each other. Or if you think about when the conquistadors came into like Brazil, right? They wrote stories in their journals about these great grand cities. When they came back 100 years later, the cities was gone. It was just rainforest. But underneath those cities that they talked about were cities buried underneath those cities. And even there's a city in the Holy Quran that Muslims assumed was what's the word? Like fantasy. Until they started digging in Africa and they found the exact city they was looking for. It was like, so then it was like, did this shit really happen? Because most of what I've read in the Bible and Quran never happened.
Very far.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's never a time, nobody named Moses ever went to Egypt. There was never slaves. Like, that never happened. But when you start finding like historical documents, so we know flood, it's not possible for the earth to flood, right? It's just not, there's no mathematical way that the earth could flood everything. Not to go over the point of Mount Everest, right? Could a flood have happened on the scale? And if the flood did happen, how big was the ark? And how did the animals from the Arctic, in the desert, in the jungle, in the mountains, like they can't all be together at the same place.